o'clock. I don't have an agenda.
You know what your kids on?
I'm gonna call this Tuesday, March 6th.
No, July.
June 6th.
June.
March.
Yeah, don't get me confused here. Meeting to order. First item is roll call. Mr. Brett Town.
Present.
Ms. Eleanor Thompson.
Present.
And I'm Patrick Crawley, and I'm here. Notice of the meeting was properly posted. Property before the board this morning are three. The first one is BOE number 55. Are we doing this by phone?
It is going to be by phone, yes.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if this is going to be Wayne Tannenbaum or Ashley Swigwell, something like that, because I've had both of them contact me about it. So,
Okay. I got Christopher Gladwell.
yeah, so we'll see who wants to represent it.
155.
What happened to 81?
Hello, Tax Solutions. How can I help you?
Yeah, good morning. This is Patrick Crawley. I'm chairman of the Oklahoma County Board of Equalization. We have three properties in front of us, and I believe your outfit is representing them.
Yes. Let me get you over to the agent. It's going to be Wayne Tannenbaum. Just one moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, BOE 81 was requested to be moved by the owner. So.
Okay.
It does. Oh yeah, absolutely it does.
Civil Tax, this is Wayne.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Tannenbaum. This is Patrick Crawley, chairman of the Board of Equalization in Oklahoma County.
Warren.
You've got three properties in front of us. I believe you're representing all of them. First one we have is our number, BOE number 155, which is Bob Howard Used Cars. It's account number ending in 2060. The assessor has assessed this at $4,546,053 or $546,537, and it appears that's been the same since 2021. And I believe you're kind of the paperwork has got some conflicts in it. You're either asking for 2.6 million or 3,375,951. Is that correct?
Yeah, the 3,375,951 is correct.
Okay. And this is Bob Howard Used Cars over there on Kelly, 13201 North Kelly.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Tell us, you've been before the board, I know, quite a number of times, so you know how it works. Tell us why you think your figure is more accurate than the assessors.
All right, you have our packet of evidence there?
Yeah, we got everything that was presented at the informal hearing.
Right, well, in prior years, just like this year, we base our value on comps for dealerships. That's kind of rare. I'll be very brief in this. And I think the county does also mainly, most properties we look at income or a market sales approach, but there's really no income data on these areas available. They're really mainly owner occupied. When it comes to sales, if there are any, number one, they're very unique and different dealerships, each one, so it's very hard to value one versus another. But more than that, there's also a lot of factors involved. I mean, I could go over the personal property, franchise fees, licensing fees, I could go on and on. Tell you that a lot of sales include a lot more than just a real property. When it comes to dealerships, the bottom line is it's hard to value, but that's why we look on the cost approach. On our page number 3, and I won't go over that again, don't worry. Page number 3, as you said, the property located at 13201 North Kelly Avenue. built in 2002. The building square feet we have is total 31,763 on 3.45 acres of land. It is difficult to often get the land value lower. We understand that on the cost approach. There's not usually sales nearby, so it's hard to, the same size I should say, it's hard to get the value lower. So it's mainly, we're concerned with more of the improvements. We do have some land sales which we'll go over, but it's mainly the improvements on the overall cost basis that we're concerned about. I mean, you have this year built in 2002 for, I believe, the used cars, and the county on page 3, that's their value, has still the improvements at over $119 a square foot. Just generally, that's very high for this year built of improvements. So the improvements are on for $3,794,962, which is the bulk of the total value of $4,546,537, and that's the county's total value of over 143 a square foot for the subject. Following pages is some aerials where the subject is located. There's a front view of the subject. It's a very average square type rectangular dealership. There's really nothing special about it. I don't believe a tremendous amount has been remodeled or done to this property, unless the appraiser knows. But on page number 8, we have our cost analysis of improvements. And before I go over that briefly, again, I'll go over this a little bit longer than I will other cases because they're similar cases. But just the bottom line is on our cost approach, before we go over it briefly, we have towards the bottom something called RCNLD, which is our replacement cost new less depreciation. So that's our improvement value minus depreciation and all the factors involved in Marshall and Swift. And we have a value of $2,965,190. So the county, again, their improvement value, I'll give you the rounded numbers, is approximately $3.8 million, and we're at approximately close to $3 million. So we're about $800,000 less based off of the current Marshall and Swift information. We're also a little bit lower on land, but again, that's going to be difficult to get lower overall. But to go over our improvements and how we're about $800,000 less, keep in mind, appropriately, we've taken each section of the dealership per Marshall and Swift, the showroom, service center, and office building, and we've broken those down with all C average, which, if anything, this is C average or less than average, but typical building for that time of year. It was built 2002. We've taken current cost multipliers, local multipliers, and we've taken depreciation from Marshall and Swift for each of those sections. We've also added some extra features. Now, the extra features is about $250,000, and of those extra features, paving, just so you know, comprises most of that. However, paving per Marshall and Swift, and I don't think this can be disputed, has a maximum life of only 15 years. So most of the paving and some lighting should be depreciated most of its life. So $250,000 is conservative and fair on extra features. Then we've also added entrepreneurial profit of 5%. On these, I would argue there isn't. I know you're supposed to do entrepreneurial profit at times on cost approach, but these are all owner occupied, and if somebody was going to resell this, number one, the new person that comes in would be a different dealership, and they'd have to spend money just to make it their type of dealership. And beyond that, it's not as if this is leased out either. So essentially, there really isn't entrepreneurial profit on these, but we have included 5%. And that's why we have a total value for our improvements, for our CNLD, of $2,965,190. The following pages, just so you're aware, are all the Marshall and Swift information for improvements. We also have on our page 8 adjusted land value. We're about $410,000, but that's very close to the county's land value. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an argument. It's mainly the argument on this particular dealership of mainly the improvements being lower on the overall cost. But on the following pages, pages 9 and beyond, you have the information of how we got our replacement cost new. You have our life expectancy guidelines, and this is not ours. This is from Marshall Swift depreciation tables. So I can explain if needed to the board how specifically we use these tables and the multipliers to get our improvements, but it's all right there for you. So there's nothing we've done unless we made a miscalculation, which I don't believe is the case, that we've done out of the ordinary per Marshall and Swift on the improvement. So all those pages up to page 16 are the Marston Cook pages. On page 16, we do have the subject land value and the land sales. We do have, and they're actually not too far from the subject. The subject 3.45 acres. We have 3 land sales here, and the subject is on to the county at $5 a square foot. These 3 land sales sold for $284 a square foot, $321 a square foot, and $231 a square foot. 2 out of the 3 sold in year 2022, which is before the value date of 1/23. Some minor adjustments because they're somewhat similar in a good range of size. Some are a little smaller, some bigger. And if you go on page 17, those are actually somewhat close to the subject, I believe, in Oklahoma City. So they're near the subject. The subject's at the top where the star is. But the 3 comparables are not too far away considering they sold recently. They're similar in size, and yet they sold for quite a bit less per square foot. Unfortunately, they're not on the same street as the subject. The full CoStar printouts of these 3 land sales are given on the following pages. They're all commercial land sales, I believe. And the bottom line is, it's really, obviously the board knows land in these areas probably better than I do. So I'm going to leave it up to the board to decide if these land comps are similar to the subject and would support less. However, when it comes to improvements, dealing with over 600 dealerships in 20 plus states, I'm very familiar with the improvement and how the improvement value we believe should be taken into account. So overall, mainly on improvements, we are definitely the lower values than the county, and that concludes our presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tannenbaum. We'll hear from the assessor now.
Good morning. Hi, Wayne. This is Steve Storr.
Hello.
So, Mr. Town, you're fairly new to the board, but one of the arguments that we usually have talking about these things is cost approach doesn't work that well for older properties. We strive to go to market, try to find sales. Now, he's correct that they are kind of rare, but we do have them, and that's what we use. But can we start off with the land sales too, please? Yeah, the land sales, I think they're right down there at the bottom. So this is a document I presented in the past few years, but it's been added on to show newer sales that have taken place. These 2 properties are Memorial Road near Walker. Both of these were bought by Group 1 in the past few years. Now, like I said, they have gotten a little bit older, but I believe, can you go down a little bit, next page? Yeah, this one right here, this one on the left was resold from Group 1 in November 21 to Cooper Edmond Investments. They're getting ready to build a new Lincoln car dealership right there. So, and this is just within a mile and a half from the subject property. If you want to scroll down there, we might pick up a couple more. There's another sale, 766. This is what was sold to the Allen Samuels Realty, which was a Volkswagen dealership that was built there, which that's going to show up as one of my improvement sales because I think Bob Howard or Bob Moore just bought that.
Was that in this year, so can it be considered, or was it
Yeah,
in last fiscal year?
Let me see here when that was.
I think that's a fairly new transaction.
August of 22 is when that sold. So scroll on back down. This is another sale. This is right next to the CarMax there on Memorial Road. Again, and this is a 2020 sale. This was actually bought by Group 1, and that was for over $10 a square foot. Let's see, this is a 2021 sale at the corner of Broadway and Memorial. Again, catty cornered from the subjects, or just very close to it. This is a smaller tract, but it was $15.50 a foot for that. It had, okay, let's see here. This is right across from the CarMax, down a little bit. That new Park Place what am I trying to say?
Rehabilitation?
Yeah, the rehabilitation center went in there. That's almost $8 a square foot. So let's see, and then go down a little bit further. I believe, okay, so that's the car wash that's going in right there, and this one sold for $8 a square foot. This is the corner of Memorial and Bryant. Scroll down just a little bit further, please. Let's see here. Okay, so that's a newer one, I believe. No, that's an earlier one, so we can pass that one up. It's a little bit older. And that's where the new 7-Eleven is going in. So I think those are all the newer sales that I've built to the top of that previous document. Okay, so we can close that one down. Thank you, Chad. So those are land sales. We obviously believe that the land sales fully support our value. So now let's go to the comp sales, please. Be the second one. Thank you. Okay, so here is a list of comparable sales that have taken place in the past few years. The newest ones that we just mentioned, the Bob Howard VW, which was formerly the Samuel Allen. That is a new property. It sold for almost $340 a square foot. I do have the confirmation letter on that. That is, they confirmed that it was land and building that was included in that sale. We let's see here. We can look at the Bob Howard Toyota, which is on North Kelly, just a few feet away from the subject. That was a 2020 sale for $240 a square foot. The top one on my list was a 21 sale for $175 a square foot. And if you look at the Madison Honda on down the line there, that was a 19 sale for $146 a foot. And the last one, which is also a new sale, is Post Oak Toyota there in Midwest City. That one sold for $130 a square foot. I believe the subject, which is, this is the Honda dealership over there.
Just used cars?
I think it's both.
Oh.
I think it's Honda and used cars. If you look at at least that's the note that I have on the system. Currently, the value of that property is $4,456,000, which equates to $130 a square foot. So I feel like, based on the land sales and sales of other dealerships nearby, our value is more than supported. And one, can you go back to the front page, please, of the AP5, please? I might remind everybody that this was a sale at the end of 2017 for almost $34 million for these properties. At the time that sold, we were in a court case with them, and this was the same argument they were using, was that cost approach is the way you go. But when the sale came through, they what's the legal term, acquiescence, said, okay, no contest or whatever. So we settled at that point in time. Since that sale has taken place, there has been some renovations to a couple of buildings that were heavily remodeled. So the sale price was, like I said, just about $34 million at that point in time. At this point, all those properties involved, we have a value of, for all of them, of $35,700,000. So there has been some change, maybe in land values too, plus, like I said, renovation to some of the buildings that are there. That's all I have.
The picture that you guys had where the shape of the land was outlined in red, that's strange shape. Is that?
Oh, that's a private road that goes through there.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure that out.
Okay, yes, but the subject is right below that, right?
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, go ahead. What's your value on your buildings and improvements per square foot? And then the same thing on the land.
Okay, the land is on at $5 a square foot.
Okay.
The average building per square foot value is $97.58. And then we add the paving onto that,
Right.
which is another $383,000. And then so the whole total of the whole property is the $130 per square foot, land and building.
What's your acreage on your paving?
The paving is 117,865 square feet.
And is it a mix, some of these photos, is it a mix of concrete and asphalt?
I've just given it a flat value of $325 a foot for whether it's asphalt or concrete at this
I
point in
believe
time.
we're all concrete.
Well, I was, okay. I'm
Thank you.
gonna ask Tannenbaum. When you said you gave
I think
a
most of these are
15-year
concrete.
life for paving, did it matter what the material was?
No, in fact, Marshall Smith actually gives a 10 to 15-year life. So the 15-year life would actually be for the stronger paving anyway.
Okay, and then the other question I have for you was, since the value of this, for the assessor's purposes, has been identical, 21, 22, 23, what is your gripe now? No, seriously, because I don't know if this particular one was one of the ones you guys filed last year and withdrew. So if
Right.
it's been the same each, I mean, I mean, just generally, I understood what you went through. I heard every word you said and I read your information this weekend. But, you're basically.
Why are we doing that? Right.
Well,
Okay,
no, you're basically saying that your property is worth less now, even though it's been valued the same for 3 years. I just, in theory, I got what you said and how you valued your square footage. I mean, I'm understanding that, but in theory, I'm just not understanding why.
All right.
You didn't get popped.
I'd like to explain briefly.
Okay.
Number one, it's because the.
Wait a minute, Wayne, let me make sure, the assessor, are you done?
I think the only other comment I was gonna make is that because some of these buildings, or some of these parcels have multiple buildings on them, I have gone through there and allocated out an amount of land and an amount of paving to those buildings to make it more equitable when we're reviewing and comparing the values of all of them. So that's my last point.
Okay, that's it, all right. I'm sorry, Mr. Tambo, didn't mean to interrupt you, but we gotta get everybody's side when it's their turn. And it's your turn now.
Okay, and I think that can answer that question and wrap up kind of our rebuttal and closing with that question in a sense. Because throughout the nation, we have been able to show, and counties have been able to value, more counties now than not value dealerships on comp throughout the nation. That is a true statement now from our experience. Not all, not even close to all, but most now, what we believe valued on cost. And some of those you've been able to get them to value it more specifically on costs over the years. And the reason is, again, fairly, that it is so difficult to value these. You heard the difference value per square foot on those market sales.
Yes.
How could one market sale be 130 and another be 400? And the problem is with us and us doing this is the only property our client doesn't give us information on their own sales. So yes, we're in a tough position because we're left with trying to explain to you that oftentimes things are included in there, but than the real property. The problem is we don't get that from our client. They would rather not us know and deal with the consequences. So it puts us in a tough position. So to answer your question in a sense, we keep trying to get the counties we consider to be the most fair. It's not the best, it's not the greatest way to value things on cost, I agree. But we keep trying to get the counties to value things more on cost, or at least give a good amount of weight to cost. So if you ask me why I keep trying every year, because if the county, whether it's the assessor or the board, decides to give more weight to cost one day, then to us it would support a lower value. So we'll keep trying every year. If you want to look at sales more, it's up to you, but we'll keep trying every year.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Tannenbaum, on this one?
That's all we have.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna close hearing on BOE, number 155, and open up hearing on 156, which is Bob Howard Nissan at 240 North Broadway Extension. Looks like the assessor has the value at the same it's had since 21 of $4,371,612. Is that correct, assessor?
Yes, sir.
And then again, we got a little argument in your paperwork here. You're either asking for 2.5 million or $2,681,021. Is that right, Mr. Tannenbaum?
Yeah, the value that we'd be looking for is the 2,681,000.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we got that straightened away. This is the account number ends in 2025. Make sure that we're looking at the right property. Tell us what you want us to know about Bob Howard Nissan.
All right, and I'll be brief, and again, it's the same essential arguments. I mean, the truth is, we have land comps that support less. I'm sure the county has land comps, as I see, that supports the value or higher. So all around, it's very hard, I admit, to value things lower. If you were going to use the comp approach, it's not necessarily the land value that seems out of place. Bottom line is, on our page 9, we have the breakdown again of improvements, and I explain how we valued it, work per Marshall Swift, etc. And after depreciation, we have a RCNLD, or improvements less depreciation, of approximately $1,975,000. Again, the county, I believe their improvement value is closer to $3 million, but if the board is going to give most weight to the sales approach, then that's an issue, but I explained why we have an issue with the sales approach, and maybe the board will give some weight to the cost and some to the sales, and tip it somewhat in our favor, but either way, we're at least $1 million less on improvements. I do understand the land value as is, and for that one, that completes our presentation.
Okay. Any questions from the board? All right, we'll hear from the assessor.
I was looking at a couple of his land sales that looks like they're mostly up on I-35. One of which is, it was $6.50 a square foot, apparently, where that new mini storage is going in just south of those new warehouses there near Wilshire
Right.
and I-35.
Yeah, north of Wilshire,
Yes, north of Wilshire, south of those new warehouses.
on the west side.
On the west side, yes, that was okay, $6.50 a foot, which supports our value. One of the other ones is right there at Britton Road, and I've noticed that here recently, that when you get off the exit there and hit that service road, this sits probably 20 feet above the street level right there, and it's only a small tract. It's only like $2.50 a foot. It is nowhere comparable to where the subject is. I think that's all I have on that. Otherwise, I would just stick with the same thing. Where our current, let's see, Mr. Town asked about the current value breakdown. We're on number 2025, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Land value is at $7.50 a foot because it fronts on the Broadway extension. Again, I broke down an area allocated for each of the buildings that are on there. Our building per square foot breaks down to almost $79 a square foot for the building average square foot. Another $485,000 in paving. The overall value of $4,371,000 equates to just about $137 per square foot, land and building.
How much paving?
Paving area is 149,200 square feet. Can you bring that aerial back up, please? That one right there. Yes, and so 2025 are those two buildings, I believe, that are in this section right there.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions of the assessor from the board?
No, I'm assuming his response would be the same if I asked the same questions I did on the prior one.
All right. Mr. Tannenbaum, anything else you want to respond to what the assessor said?
No, that's all we have.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close BOE number 156, open up the hearing on BOE 157, which is the property at 13101 North Kelly Avenue. It's Bob Howard Acura. looks like the assessor had, initially had $2,449,140, and they reduced that down to, I presume at the informal.
I'm showing the same
The
number.
same thing, it didn't change.
It didn't change. Oh, okay, oh, you're right. The confusion comes with the taxpayer here. Either it's 1,450,000, 1,400,000, or 1,675,256. Which is it, Mr. Hanwell?
1,675,256.
Okay. All right. Looks like the assessor's value has been the same since 2022. So we'll hear from, and before that, it was 2,686,390 in 21, but, and this is account number ending in 2005. So we'll hear from, the taxpayer now.
Sure. Kind of interesting on this one that the value, we're closer on improvements for this one, even though the overall value, because I understand they're looking at sales more than cost, but it's interesting that if you look at the improvement value on this, I think the county is close to 2 million, but we're, compared to our improvements on this one, it's very similar to some of the other dealerships built in 2002. Number one, we do have a newer effective year. I think some of this did, especially the showroom, have summer modeling over the years. So on our page, I don't know if we have page numbers on this, but for our costs, we did have a newer effective year. The bottom line is that even though this is similar dealerships to the other ones, we have a, after depreciation and all the factors, a value of about almost 1.45 million on improvements versus the 2 million of the county. So we're actually closer on this dealership as far as improvement value to the county. But as far as the land, we do have, again, some land comps that would for less per square foot, but again, it's difficult, especially if the assessor has land comps also to get a lower value based on, but the bottom line again is, if you give some weight at least to the cost approach, maybe some to the sales or most of the cost, then we could look at this and maybe lower the value overall on cost, but I'll leave that up to the board. That's all we have.
Okay. Any questions from the board? We'll hear from the taxpayer now. I mean, the assessor.
Okay, so this is the Acura dealership there at fronts on Kelly. I'll just go back and say, okay, first of all, if you want to break down on the valuation of it, it's $458,000 on the land, which is about, I guess, around 92,000 square feet. Building value per square foot is about $98 a foot. Paving $237,250 for a total of $2,449,000. Overall value is $137.45 a square foot, land and building. Again, I would go back to the sale even of just the Bob Howard Toyota, which is just very close to this one. That was again a confirmed sale by the buyer for $239 a square foot. So I agree. I don't know why these things bounce around so much, why there's not more consistency, but all I can tell you is that on some of these, we did get back confirmation letters on the sale price. And that's, I can't argue with that. If we send it and they answered it, I don't know what to tell you. So we just do the best we can with what we've got on the land sales and the improved sales. So that's what I've got.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Assessor, all right. Mr. Tannenbaum, is there anything else that you want to add to you?
Well, just to be fair in closing, we do appreciate that the county at least recognizes some things and doesn't raise the value on these dealerships. It could be a whole nother argument. And I'm sure our client appreciates that. And they did work with us on a different type of property this year very well. So that's all we got to say in closing.
Where are you?
I'm in Arizona.
Where?
Phoenix, but just so you know, I've been to Oklahoma a number of times.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? All right, I'm gonna close the hearing on BOE number 157, which is the last one on our docket today. Mr. Tannenbaum, appreciate your input, and I guess we'll be in touch with you again tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I'll call you tomorrow.
All right, thanks, sir. Bye. Okay, all right, any,
Tell me again what happened to 81?
So 81, and this guy, I've had a lot of difficulty contacting him because he's a lawyer, and so he does this for his clients, and so I'm like, okay, well, we need to schedule. He's like, well, I need to talk to my clients. So I've been trying to schedule this guy for 2 months.
Oh,
Finally
okay.
got him scheduled, and he's like, well, I think I'll bit off more than I can chew. I'm gonna have to cancel. Now, he did do that prior to when we had to amend it, so it doesn't really count as a
So he doesn't
reschedule
want
or
it?
anything.
He didn't want to do it?
Oh no, he wants to. He just wants
Oh.
to push it back to July. So,
Oh, okay.
but it doesn't technically count as a reschedule
Oh,
because
okay.
the agenda wasn't final yet.
Oh, okay.
But that is what happened to him, and it's been very difficult to get him scheduled.
Could I just say, hope this doesn't shock you, I'm asking this. What is the difference between sales and cost? Sales are comparable sales, right?
Yeah, market value. We go out there and we look at, see what sales have taken place around, just like in a neighborhood of houses.
What's the cost?
Well, cost is what did it cost to buy the land? What did it cost to build the building and put the paving down or finish the
Oh.
building and that type of thing, which, he refers to Marshall and Swift.
Yeah.
Marshall and Swift is a cost service that is used by insurance companies, appraisers, that type of thing, building constructors, builders, all that, to estimate what it costs to build a building, and then you have to apply some kind of obsolescence or depreciation to those numbers to bring it down to what you believe is, quote, a value. But my argument with the cost approach is if he was looking at my house, he would say, well, your house is appreciated, built in 1998, your house is 25 years old, so it's depreciated out, we'll say 15, 20%, whatever. Whereas we all know that that house is now worth quite a bit more than what it
Right.
cost us to build it.
Right.
I can tell you it cost us $138,000 land and building,
Okay.
but now, we have it on for over $300,000, and I can't argue it because I
Right.
know what the sales have been.
Right.
So that's when you go to statutes, the statutes say you look at what the market is, and the market's actually defined by what sales take place, and that's why you lean mostly on what sales are or income if you don't have backup from the sales.
And is it a proprietary secret that I have a problem with a client not equipping their representative with all of the information they need.
It wouldn't be the first time. I've seen it many times. Absolutely. And sometimes I know for a fact that they're not doing it. Sometimes I think it's just the agent telling me that they're not getting it. But
Same thing we have with rents.
yeah, it's
is the information most damaging to their argument? That's what's usually missing.
that is many times correct. But I have seen in the past where information came through because I was not convinced about what I was saying, and I say, and it has happened recently, the guy didn't know what he was representing, and I feel like it's in the best interest of the taxpayer to take a little bit harder look at it. I'm not opposed to lowering the value if I need to, regardless of what the agent says.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, board?
No, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, there's no citizens here.
How many do you have tomorrow?
The what?
I did.